In a press conference, Honda CEO Toshihiro Mibe has said that the companies needed greater scale to compete in the development of new...
We have come to the realisation that in order for both parties to be leaders in this mobility transformation, it is necessary to make a bolder change.
The spotlight of the global motorcycle industry turned sharply when Honda CEO Toshihiro Mibe unveiled a new $10,000 cruiser motorcycle, a move that sent ripples through manufacturers, riders, and enthusiasts alike. In an event that was expected to focus on updates to Honda's existing lineup, Mibe instead stepped on stage and delivered a curveball, a bold and unexpected foray into the mid-range cruiser segment with a machine that promises to reshape the dynamics of design, affordability, and performance in one sweeping gesture. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The reveal began with Mibe speaking with a tone of conviction that was impossible to ignore. The covers came off a motorcycle that, at first glance, blended classic cruiser aesthetics with futuristic minimalism. It was immediately clear this was not a rehash of old ideas, nor was it simply an attempt to capture nostalgia. This was a declaration. Honda, long respected for its engineering prowess and precision, was no longer content with simply playing within the established categories. It was set on redefining what a cruiser could be for a modern audience. The machine itself radiated character. It boasted a low-slung frame, wide bars, a relaxed rake, and a muscular stance, all familiar trademarks of the cruiser archetype, but with nuanced enhancements that hinted at a much deeper design philosophy. Mibe's team seemed to have reverse-engineered the cultural significance of cruisers and then rebuilt one that aligned with contemporary sensibilities, efficient, accessible, and utterly unpretentious. The silhouette was unmistakably cruiser, yet sharper. The angles were more deliberate, the lines more sculpted. It looked as though every inch had been refined to communicate elegance and aggression in equal measure. From a mechanical standpoint, the surprise was not just in the price, but in the capability. The powertrain housed within the steel cradle was a brand new 750cc parallel twin, tuned specifically for torque in the low to mid-range. A deliberate nod to the cruising lifestyle, where power delivery at relaxed speeds reigns supreme. The engine, reportedly built using a new casting process, not only delivered punchy performance, but also shed unnecessary weight. The exhaust note, as revealed during the on-stage revs, was deep and throaty, with a resonance tuned to stir the soul rather than rattle the bones. Mibe emphasized how this motorcycle was developed from scratch, not as a derivative of any prior model. Honda's engineers had worked for years under confidentiality to bring this to market, secretly building test mules that blended legacy inspiration with digital innovation. It featured an all-new frame geometry, bespoke suspension, and a lightweight chassis designed for both urban maneuverability and long-haul comfort. The duality of purpose, a bike just as happy slicing through traffic as it is eating up open-road miles, made it an anomaly in a segment often criticized for rigidity in use case. But the real earthquake was the price. At just $10,000, this cruiser comes in at thousands less than many of its rivals from Harley-Davidson, Indian, or even Yamaha. That price point isn't just competitive, it's disruptive. Mibe noted that the goal was not to undercut the competition recklessly, but to strike a balance between cost and performance that would bring more riders into the world of cruisers without sacrificing quality or soul. It was Honda doing what it does best, democratizing access to premium technology. This financial accessibility, however, doesn't suggest compromise. Quite the opposite. The motorcycle includes features that would traditionally only appear on bikes in the $15,000 plus range. A full-color TFT display sits embedded within the instrument cluster, providing ride modes, turn-by-turn navigation, Bluetooth connectivity, and real-time diagnostics. The switchgear is tactile and ergonomically laid out. Rider aids like traction control, ABS, and even a low-speed stability assist borrowed from Honda's work in robotics and touring bikes are standard, not optional. The shock across the industry was instantaneous and almost palpable. Mibe's presentation was barely over before forums, social media channels, and motorcycle press outlets lit up. The reactions ranged from stunned curiosity to unfiltered admiration. The cruiser segment, particularly in the American market, has long been dominated by heavyweight legends with price tags to match. Machines with great character, but often limited appeal beyond hardcore loyalists. Honda's move signaled a fresh direction, a cruiser that appealed not just to purists, but to an entire generation of younger riders who had previously viewed the genre as inaccessible, outdated, or overly niche. Another layer to the industry-wide disruption came from the motorcycle's environmental stance. Without being electric, the new cruiser was engineered to meet the world's strictest emission standards well into the next decade. It featured an advanced catalytic system, lean-burning fuel maps, and even smart air intake modulation that adjusts based on elevation and humidity, all of which help deliver cleaner combustion without performance loss. While the motorcycle remained conventionally fueled, its low environmental footprint felt like a philosophical bridge between past and future. It allowed riders to retain the visceral joy of combustion while easing the guilt increasingly associated with it. For rival manufacturers, the implications are severe and immediate. Harley-Davidson, which has built its empire on cruiser culture, now finds itself pressured to respond. Indian Motorcycle, which has gained a solid foothold in recent years, must decide whether to follow Honda's price-technology equilibrium or double down on its luxury niche. Even Japanese competitors like Yamaha and Suzuki will need to reevaluate how they define value and performance in their own middleweight and cruiser offerings. The reveal also places new expectations on the market's design language. Honda has thrown down a gauntlet with its clean, minimalist bodywork that still pays homage to traditional cruiser cues. There is no excess, no garnish, just a pure, distilled form that exudes confidence. The paint finishes are deep, the metalwork tasteful, the lighting LED throughout but styled to evoke the soft glow of halogen warmth. The design walks a tightrope between retro and future forward, proving that taste and affordability do not need to be mutually exclusive. Honda's approach to rider inclusivity also stood out. Mibe made it clear that the ergonomics were tested across a wide range of body types, including shorter riders, women, and newcomers to motorcycling. The seat height is low but not slammed, offering comfort without compromising cornering clearance. The bars are slightly pulled back, the foot pegs positioned to reduce fatigue. The result is a seating triangle that suits a wide demographic, another strategic masterstroke in expanding cruiser appeal beyond its traditional user base. One of the more understated but revolutionary features was Honda's new modular accessory system introduced alongside the motorcycle. Instead of requiring proprietary, hard-to-install gear, Honda developed a universal mounting architecture for luggage, windshields, backrests, and even sound systems. This allows for extensive personalization while keeping aftermarket integration clean and hassle-free. Riders can transform their motorcycles for commuting, touring, or weekend blasts with minimal tools and time, a modularity that breaks down barriers of ownership and use case anxiety. Mibe's leadership in this launch didn't just shock the industry, it underscored a broader shift in corporate vision. Honda is no longer content with merely participating in every segment. It aims to lead through disruption. This cruiser is emblematic of that ambition. It wasn't launched with fanfare for its own sake, but with a sense of strategy that suggested deep consideration of future market demands. Mibe didn't just introduce a new motorcycle, he introduced a new category of rider to the cruiser fold. The global reach of this move is also significant. For developing markets where cruiser motorcycles are often aspirational but financially out of reach, this new $10,000 price point, especially when adjusted for local taxes and incentives, could open the doors to a previously untapped wave of buyers. The timing, too, could not be more precise. As economic uncertainties push riders to be more value-conscious, a motorcycle that offers premium craftsmanship and reliable engineering at a significantly lower price becomes more than just attractive, it becomes essential. This cruiser is more than a motorcycle. It's a symbol of strategic precision, technological advancement, and design evolution. Honda has historically played the long game, and this move suggests it is now recalibrating what long-term success in the motorcycle market looks like. Instead of racing to electrification for its own sake, Honda has introduced a transitional machine, one that honors the combustion engine while leading the way in affordability, inclusivity, and environmental responsibility. The scale of ambition was evident even in the logistics of the rollout. Honda announced that manufacturing would begin simultaneously in Japan, Thailand, and the US, ensuring global distribution with minimal delays. The production strategy was built to withstand supply chain turbulence, another sign of forward thinking. Honda isn't reacting to the market, it's predicting it. As the motorcycle world reels from the announcement, dealerships are bracing for unprecedented demand. The $10,000 cruiser is already being discussed as a potential category killer, a term rarely used in the motorcycle industry due to the high specialization of brands and models. But this new Honda may be the exception. It doesn't just compete, it renders some of its competition obsolete in certain respects. Whether or not the others can respond effectively remains to be seen, but one fact is now unavoidable. The rules of the cruiser game have changed. Toshihiro Mibe's role in this cannot be overstated. His tenure as CEO has been marked by bold decisions, but this may be his defining moment. Under his watch, Honda has demonstrated that innovation doesn't always mean chasing trends. Sometimes it means returning to core values, quality, reliability, accessibility, and executing them in ways that feel completely new. Mibe's unveiling was not just about a motorcycle, it was about reasserting Honda's place as a brand capable of leading, not just following. The new cruiser, with its game-changing price and thoughtful design, may very well be a turning point in how motorcycles are built, marketed, and ridden. It challenges assumptions, it demands reconsideration, and it opens the throttle for a future where more people than ever can experience the joy of riding, not on something stripped down or compromised, but on a machine that represents the best of engineering, style, and intent. In one stunning moment, Honda has shaken the ground beneath the motorcycle industry. And in doing so, it has offered not just a product, but a new vision, one where the spirit of cruising belongs to everyone. The shockwave from Honda's unprecedented cruiser release didn't fade with the closing of Toshihiro Mibe's presentation. It continued to build, branching into corners of the motorcycle world that had long been static or insulated. What began as a bold announcement evolved into a catalyst for re-examination, with the press scrambling to digest the implications and brand competitors thrown into a defensive stance. Honda had done more than present a product. It had reframed the conversation about what a modern cruiser could be, and perhaps more importantly, who it could be for. Manufacturers had long relied on a formula when targeting the cruiser market: big displacement engines, heavy steel frames, classic lines, premium finishes, and equally premium prices. This formula carried with it a certain unspoken rule. Cruisers were lifestyle machines, targeted at a demographic with deep pockets, deep roots in the culture, and little appetite for change. With this release, Honda shattered that rule entirely. By offering a cleanly designed, mid-weight cruiser at a subversive price point, Mibe's team had dismantled the assumption that prestige must always come with bulk and exclusivity. The response among new and returning riders was immediate and electric. Online communities began forming overnight, comprised of enthusiasts plotting purchases, customizing possibilities, and debating how this bike would alter their riding lives. Younger riders who had previously steered clear of cruisers, viewing them as too costly, too heavy, or too locked into an older image, now found themselves enthralled. There was something magnetic about the idea of a high-quality, aesthetically refined cruiser they could not only afford but grow into. This wasn't accidental. Honda had clearly studied how younger riders approach motorcycles today. While performance and style remain central, there's a deeper need for modularity, utility, and ethical design. This machine speaks to that ethos. It's not simply a stripped-down or starter cruiser meant to lure customers into a brand ecosystem. It's a full-bodied, legitimate offering that stands on its own. For many, it won't be a stepping stone, it will be the destination. That distinction is key. In a market saturated with entry-level bikes that scream compromise, Honda delivered one that whispers confidence. What's particularly noteworthy is how Honda embedded technological sophistication in a package that never overwhelms. The riding aids are intuitive rather than intrusive. The digital interface is understated yet functional. There's no aggressive push toward over-digitization. Everything feels as though it was designed to enhance the ride, not distract from it. Mibe's leadership was evident here too. Known for championing user-centric innovation, he made sure this machine didn't chase fads. Instead, it presented technology as a quiet enabler. There when you need it, invisible when you don't. Suspension tuning, often an afterthought in the cruiser category, received dedicated engineering attention. Honda deployed a bespoke rear monoshock system, cleverly hidden to preserve visual purity while dramatically improving ride quality. Up front, a set of robust telescopic forks deliver both responsiveness and stability, perfect for city curves and highway sweepers alike. Together, they create a riding experience that feels composed, plush, and in control without becoming lazy or overly cushioned. Then there's the frame itself, an entirely new architecture that balances strength with flexibility. Using a unique mix of high-tensile steel and aluminum components, Honda created a chassis that's both lighter and more agile than any cruiser in its class. This directly affects how the bike handles real-world scenarios. Lane changes feel confident rather than cumbersome. U-turns don't require awkward choreography. Even in tight parking lots, riders report a surprising nimbleness, a word rarely used in cruiser circles. Lighting design added another layer of elegance. Rather than bolt on standard LED arrays, Honda's design team sculpted the lighting elements into the body itself. The headlight, taillight, and turn indicators all echo the same motif: subtle curves, layered illumination, and soft transitions. This approach doesn't just improve visibility and safety, it elevates the entire aesthetic language of the bike. It looks just as good rolling through downtown at night as it does standing still in broad daylight. This harmony between form and function spills into the ergonomics too. The seat, made from multi-density foam and wrapped in high-grade synthetic leather, provides lasting comfort over long distances. Its contour naturally cups the rider, offering a relaxed yet supportive posture that invites extended saddle time. Peg placement, shifter feel, brake travel, all were refined through exhaustive rider testing across multiple continents. The result is a riding position that feels organic, not manufactured, as if the motorcycle was sculpted around you, not the other way around. In terms of sound design, an often overlooked component, Honda took a nuanced approach. Rather than amplify volume or create artificial pops and crackles, engineers tuned the exhaust system to produce a linear, full-bodied tone. The note deepens with acceleration but never becomes harsh or brash. It's a soundtrack that's more symphony than scream, an auditory signature that reflects maturity without losing intensity. For riders who value presence without being obnoxious, this decision speaks volumes. Customization potential was baked into the DNA from day one. Recognizing that cruiser culture thrives on personalization, Honda ensured that the new platform supported a wide range of bolt-on accessories, both from its own catalog and the aftermarket. The subframe was designed to accept saddlebags, tail racks, and even different seat configurations without requiring specialized brackets or permanent alterations. The wiring harnesses are plug-and-play, making upgrades like auxiliary lighting or audio systems not only feasible but straightforward. It's a motorcycle that invites ownership, not just in title, but in spirit. Beyond the bike itself, Honda's marketing strategy surrounding the release was just as meticulously constructed. Eschewing traditional ad campaigns, the company opted for an experience-driven rollout. Demo tours were planned in major urban centers and scenic rural highways alike. Each location featured interactive displays, test rides, and technical briefings. The goal was not just to promote the product, but to build a community around it, to seed the emotional resonance that turns a vehicle into a passion. Dealerships, traditionally structured around high-pressure sales and limited inventory, were instructed to prepare for a new kind of buyer: informed, digitally savvy, and often first-time motorcyclists. To that end, Honda implemented a parallel direct-to-consumer support system, including virtual consultations, online configuration tools, and even a concierge delivery option in select markets. This hybrid sales model, blending online convenience with real-world touchpoints, was another sign of Honda's forward-thinking approach under Mibe's leadership. Globally, this cruiser's implications reach even further. In Europe, where emission standards are tightening and urban access rules are changing, a bike that balances classic appeal with modern environmental responsibility hits a critical sweet spot. In Asia, where rising incomes and growing motorcycling interest have created a demand for aspirational yet affordable models, this new cruiser is poised to become a cultural touchstone. And in South America and Africa, where infrastructure and economic constraints limit access to high-end models, Honda's new platform offers a gateway to premium experience without the premium burden. One of the most quietly revolutionary elements of the rollout was Honda's decision to open source certain design specifications for the platform. In a surprising but calculated move, Mibe announced that independent builders and fabricators would have access to detailed mounting points, CAD files, and software APIs. This is a stark departure from the traditionally closed ecosystems of major manufacturers. It signals a new willingness to collaborate with the broader writing community, a recognition that innovation doesn't always come from within, but can be nurtured from outside. Media coverage was swift to identify the stakes. Publications not traditionally focused on motorcycles began reporting on the cultural significance of the launch. Design journals noted the bike's visual restraint and harmony. Environmental bloggers discussed its emissions profile. Business analysts looked at Honda's pricing strategy and supply chain orchestration as case studies in disruption. Even non-riders found themselves pulled into conversations about how and why a $10,000 motorcycle could so thoroughly shake an industry. Perhaps the most defining characteristic of Mibe's announcement was the emotion behind it. Too often, vehicle launches are sterile affairs. PowerPoint slides, spec sheets, applause cues. This one was different. Mibe spoke not just as a CEO, but as a rider. He shared memories of his own early riding experiences, the influence of his father's generation of bikes, and his belief that motorcycles are one of humanity's last truly analog joys in an increasingly digital world. That sentiment resonated. It made the reveal not just an announcement, but a declaration of intent. It also provided a subtle but profound reminder that even as the world rushes toward automation, electrification, and digital abstraction, there remains space and need for visceral mechanical experiences. For all its sophistication, this new cruiser remains grounded in simplicity. It doesn't overthink its purpose. It exists to connect rider to machine, machine to road, road to journey. That connection, intimate and immediate, is what elevates motorcycles beyond mere transportation. It's what turns a commute into a memory, a destination into an adventure. Competitors will undoubtedly respond. New models will be rushed into development. Pricing strategies will be revised. Features once considered luxury will be pushed into standard offerings, but none will be able to replicate the timing, preparation, and execution of what Honda achieved with this launch. They can copy the specifications, perhaps even undercut the price, but they cannot recreate the cultural moment. Mibe and his team struck with precision. They understood that success wasn't just about what the motorcycle did, it was about what it meant. Already, rumors swirl about future variants. Some insiders whisper of a slightly larger displacement version for long-distance touring. Others suggest a scrambler-style offshoot built on the same frame. There are even hints at an eventual electric sibling, designed to complement rather than replace the combustion model. If true, this would mean that Honda is not only launching a bike, but building a platform, a foundation for an entirely new family of motorcycles, united by philosophy, not just parts. The significance of this launch lies not just in the machine itself, but in its invitation. An invitation to reimagine what motorcycling can be. An invitation to return to the essence of riding, free from the weight of image or intimidation. An invitation to participate regardless of age, income, or background. That's the real revolution Mibe set in motion. What began as the unveiling of a single motorcycle has now unfolded into a broader shift in thinking, one that touches design, business, community, and culture. It challenges other companies to move faster, think deeper, and listen more carefully. It challenges riders to reconsider what they want and why, and it challenges the industry to keep pace with an evolving world without forgetting what made motorcycling magical in the first place. The road ahead will not be the same. Thanks to this new cruiser and the vision behind it, the journey has changed. And for the first time in a long time, it feels wide open. As the echoes of Honda's audacious cruiser release reverberated throughout the global motorcycle community, an undercurrent of anticipation began brewing in an entirely different sector, the custom motorcycle scene. Builders, tinkerers, and design houses around the world quickly zeroed in on the new platform, recognizing its potential not merely as a retail product, but as a creative canvas. Within days of the reveal, concept sketches, renderings, and speculative builds began flooding online channels. The cruiser's minimalist framework and modular construction had ignited imaginations in a way few production bikes ever managed to. Custom builders have long lamented how difficult it is to work with modern motorcycles due to complex electronics, proprietary systems, or overly integrated components. Honda's new cruiser seemed to deliberately avoid these pitfalls. Its design left room to breathe. A wide open triangle beneath the seat, simple mounting points, exposed subframe, all of which invited experimentation. From bobbers to cafe-inspired reinterpretations, early buzz suggested this model would be one of the most modifiable in Honda's history, rivaling even the legendary CB series in that regard. This naturally led to a rush of partnership interest from boutique customization firms and independent artists. Mibe's leadership had ensured the cruiser was designed with open-ended adaptability, and now that decision was paying off in unforeseen ways. Rumors quickly surfaced of collaborations already in the works. Limited edition versions tailored to specific markets, or regional design treatments that would highlight cultural styling cues. Whether through altered finishes, unique bodywork, or bespoke seating arrangements, this platform had lit a fire in the custom world that hadn't been seen since the heyday of air-cooled twins. Concurrently, riding schools and training organizations began expressing interest in adopting the bike for instructional use. This might seem trivial in the broader industry landscape, but it marked a quiet yet powerful validation. Motorcycle instructors praised the balance, predictability, and manageability of the cruiser, key factors for helping new riders build confidence. The approachable seat height, responsive controls, and forgiving nature of the chassis positioned it as an ideal learner's tool without the condescension often associated with entry-level bikes. These organizations, which often purchase fleets in bulk, represent a grassroots channel for brand loyalty, converting students into lifelong Honda advocates before they've even bought their first personal machine. Perhaps most intriguingly, the cruiser began attracting interest from urban mobility planners and tourism agencies. In cities where traditional large cruisers are considered impractical due to congestion or emissions policies, this new Honda presented a rare blend of compliance and charisma. Its compact dimensions, reduced noise output, and efficient fuel mapping allowed it to slot into a growing niche: the premium urban cruiser. Municipalities began exploring partnerships for guided riding tours, rental fleets, and brand-integrated promotions in destinations known for scenic routes or cultural motorcycling relevance. The bike wasn't just seen as a private purchase, it was increasingly viewed as a mobile ambassador. Internationally, the ripple effect widened even further. In regions where motorcycle regulation had previously favored scooters or smaller displacement commuters, the new cruiser's power-to-weight ratio and emissions profile opened doors. It could qualify for favorable tax brackets, subsidies, and reduced insurance classifications, critical components for mass adoption in countries like Brazil, Vietnam, and South Africa. These markets, long dominated by either utilitarian commuters or prohibitively expensive imports, suddenly found themselves faced with an aspirational yet realistic option. The impact was more than economic, it was psychological. A bike that looked world-class and felt exclusive was now attainable, and that redefined personal mobility as much as it did leisure riding. Within Honda's own corporate structure, the project began to serve as a model for cross-departmental synergy. The cruiser wasn't the result of siloed departments operating independently. It was born from collaboration across design, engineering, production, marketing, and logistics, each providing input from the earliest stages. Mibe had long advocated for a flattened internal communication structure, where feedback loops could move vertically and laterally with speed. This project demonstrated the effectiveness of that approach. Every inch of the motorcycle, from the curve of the tank to the texture of the grips, reflected a synthesis of ideas. It became an internal case study in agility, one likely to influence future Honda products well beyond the motorcycle division. Even within motorsport circles, traditionally aloof toward cruiser models, the release sparked curiosity. While the new bike isn't track-oriented by any measure, some riders from flat track and supermoto backgrounds began experimenting with its agility and chassis limits. The sheer novelty of pushing a cruiser into performance territory added a fresh dimension to its appeal. Videos of the motorcycle carving back roads or taking on informal race settings added fuel to its growing mythology. It wasn't about lap times or lean angles. It was about proving that you didn't have to accept mediocrity in the cruiser class. Education programs and technical schools also took notice. The cruiser's balance between analog accessibility and digital integration made it an ideal training tool for aspiring mechanics and technicians. Unlike high-end sports bikes with sealed systems and limited user serviceability, Honda's new model welcomed exploration. Schools in Europe, India, and Australia reportedly reached out to Honda about incorporating the motorcycle into their coursework, recognizing its potential to teach foundational mechanics while exposing students to modern diagnostics and safety systems. It served not just as a bike to ride, but one to learn from. Above all, what this cruiser release has done is recalibrate expectations. Riders, builders, educators, even regulators, all are now revisiting long-held assumptions. Assumptions about what motorcycles should cost, about who should ride them, about what they should look like and how they should function. By refusing to accept the boundaries traditionally placed around the cruiser category, Honda, under Mibe's watchful direction, has transformed a single product launch into a movement of possibility. And that possibility doesn't end with the machine itself. It spreads into every facet of how we imagine freedom on two wheels. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Honda's $10,000 cruiser motorcycle reveal? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.